This is a new phase in the history of the Australian men's shed movement.
To the men who go there, it's their place of belonging. When the lockdown started, it was chaotic, for starters. There's a lot of, like with everything, there was a lot of panic out there amongst people, especially older people. But it was contradictory to what we're all about. We're all about preventing social isolation, and we're telling a lot of guys out there that they need to socially isolate. So, and that was the government directive, as we all know. Now, but for sheds, that was a real issue because they go to the shed to have that social interaction, and now they were going to go home and stay home, especially I had a lot of empathy for the guys who live on their own, and the shed was their only bit of social interaction.
We knew that it was an emergency response in many ways, that we were responding to the sheds being closed and we were trying to create a virtual shed, so we just went all shoulders to the wheel.
Welcome to The Shed Wireless, a podcast from the Australian Men's Shed Association, shoulder to shoulder, virtually.
Word of mouth, ring a mate, give him the tip, send the Shed Wireless via the Shed Telegraph, if you will. You can also find the Shed Wireless on Apple iTunes, on Spotify, via YouTube, via Redcircle, wherever you find us. Subscribe so that each new episode gets delivered straight to you. There's been a lot of talk about how people have had to embrace new technology, whether it be Zoom meetings or remote business. Well, it's no different for our shedders. They've had to learn new technology as well, including the podcast. And what you hope is that it's a good enough reason to learn a new skill, and certainly the numbers of people who have listened over the course of it suggest that they got their daughter over to hook them up, or their mate up the road to talk them through it, or whatever, and somehow they all got on board.
The podcast and the Shed Online were two initiatives that we had thought about previously, but the COVID lockdown forced us to react and put those out. And I think, and look, if it wasn't for the lockdown, it may not have been anywhere near as successful as what it is. With the guys not in the sheds and wanting that connection, I think was the key to them being successful. Was the right time, right place. And now we've got another tool in the shed of men's sheds, I suppose, an asset that will keep maintaining and using, to communicate with the sheds directly. And as it evolves, we'll make it more about the sheds themselves, sharing their experiences and the guys in the sheds, and using that forum for them to share knowledge.
There's obviously the historic first podcast ever by the Governor-General of Australia. That was a bit of a thrill, and we didn't realise until the time that he'd never done one before, so that was a thrill, and he was really generous. We got amazing access to the Health Minister in the middle of the COVID crisis. Like, that says something about how highly regarded sheds are as a movement, that the Health Minister, he was getting 1,000 text messages a day, and he gave us maybe half an hour of his time.
The audience is growing week by week. It's huge, and it's not just around Australia, it's worldwide.
Sheds are a place where stories are born, sometimes exaggerated, but they certainly grow, and this has been a great way to not just tell the bloke who's standing next to you in your particular town, but be able to get it to go right across the world.